So like you don't need a whole big process. Like you can do it relatively easy and cost effective. January 1st, 2025, we want to be at $2.5 million. Our REM Acquisition is just the start. The bigger picture is REM Inc. The goal is $1 billion business.
Tonight we have Carmen Caruso, a self-made entrepreneur and real estate investor. He's going to come on and share his journey with us about how he went to just 7 figures in under 1 year, full-time wholesaling. He's going to drop some exclusive knowledge that you're not going to be able to hear anywhere else. So without further ado, this is Carmen Caruso. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Small correction, not 7 figures yet, just under 7 figures.
Okay.
Hopefully in our first full year. I guess why don't I take you back to the very beginning? Let's go all the way back to high school.
Yes, sir.
So I was in high school. Just like most people, we were, drinking, smoking, partying, staying out late, doing all that stuff a normal, typical high school, person would do. Nothing really productive was going on there. Fast forward, I go into college, I go to Temple University. And at that time, I carried everything I was doing, I was carrying mostly into Temple as well. So I was at Temple for about 3.5 years. The first 2 years was just strictly partying. Fell behind in my majors. All that type of stuff. I was in a kinesiology major. That was a major, for people that don't know, it's like occupational therapy, physical therapy, something along that nature.
Mm-hmm.
In my second year, I believe my major split. So basically, I had to pick or choose if I wanted to do physical therapy or occupational therapy. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of just picked that major. I thought maybe I could be like a physical therapist or maybe even a personal trainer because it was all in that field. But I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I couldn't decide which avenue I wanted to go into, whether it was like occupational therapy or physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just took a step back and trying to explore all my options. Now, one of my options was becoming a radiologist. That was something my aunt was, and she was making pretty good money at the time. I think it was like $150,000, maybe $200,000 a year, which is nice money. She was doing it for 30 years though. So my family's in my ear chirping me about it, and I'm like, okay, well, why not, try going that direction. And I started looking around and stuff, and I realized that, hey, Temple doesn't have this. So I explored other options outside, local colleges, and found Holy Family that had that major. So like, okay, I'm gonna switch to it. Fast forward to my third year now, I was set to transfer at the end of my third year. March 2020, COVID hit. At the time, I just picked up Uber as a side hustle thing while I was in college, and at that time, the money was very well for somebody who was in college. I was working 50, 60 hours a week. I was paying people to do my homework because everything was online.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was staying up all night reading, trying to figure out kind of what I wanted to do. I was always attracted to real estate in itself. I read a quote that, it's a cliche quote, but 90% of all millionaires are made through real estate somehow, some way. And that kind of stuck with me. So fast forward now to late August, early September, it was actually late August in my third year of college. That's when I transferred to Holy Family. And transferring there, I was literally there for probably about 3 days. Okay. And in that 3 days, they were training you on how to use the systems and stuff, like the X-ray machine, all that type of shit. And I was like, fuck, man, this is going to be my life.
Right.
That was a mindset shift in itself for me. I was like, I'm really about to sit here and do this machine, start off making $50,000 a year. Like I said, there's more out there for me than this. Again, the real estate was always in the back of my mind. So without hesitation, I dropped out. Hard conversation with my parents, obviously, but it is what it is. Went instantly, started studying for my real estate test to become a realtor. That was all through September and October. Wound up passing the test. November started full-time realtor. That was November of 2020. At the time, I still had to, as a realtor, it's not like a 9-to-5 income. You have to literally work your ass off to, get where you want to be. So I was doing 6 open houses on a weekend. Any realtor, an average realtor might do 2, if they're even a bit productive.
Mm-hmm.
I was cold calling. I found that as my niche. That's how I built out my whole business. And I was still also Ubering because, like I said, it's not a 9 to 5 where there's not income coming in all the time. So I had to, maybe do Uber for 6 hours a day, then cold call a couple hours, like stuff like that, until eventually my time was mainly prioritized towards being a realtor. And eventually I got cut out being Ubering at all. Year one, I did about 17. I sold about 17 houses, and that was for about $6.5 million in sales volume. So it wasn't like the best. It was well above average. I think like the most realtor will sell maybe like 2 to 4 houses their first year. So I did pretty decent for myself. Year two came along, and I wound up selling 34 houses. So I told myself I wanted to double, and sold 34 houses for about $10 million in sales volume. And at that time, I got connected with a buddy named Santos, and he helped me buy pretty much all my rental properties up until this point. And he was wholesaling. And he was like to me, we became really close friends, and we would talk on a day-to-day basis. And he was basically like me, he's like, dude, why are you being a realtor, going to these showings, like doing all these things, like having to actually leave your house to make money when you could just wholesale and make double, triple the money? Because like the average spread as a realtor as a commission, at least for the houses that I was doing, like there's big realtors out there that do like $1 million, $2 million houses. That wasn't my niche. Like that's not how I grew up. I grew up in a middle class family. So it's not like I'm going to be like attracted to those $1 million people that talk a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. Like that was not me. So I was more attracted to like the range of like $150,000 to $400,000. So my commissions were about like $5,000 to $7,000, and you look at wholesale spreads. I mean, if you're a good wholesaler, you should probably make a minimum of $10K.
Right.
Minimum. For us, our average spread is $17K, just off of cold calls. I'll get in that a little later, but yeah. So he had that in the back of my mind, and there was always like something missing as well, because you get sold this dream as a realtor that you're this entrepreneur, you're here to build like your own business, like you all this stuff you think, right? But in reality, unless you're like a phenomenal realtor, you're just a solopreneur within a big corporate company. You technically do have a boss, right? Like, I was with Keller Williams, it's the largest brokerage. I had a broker, I was on a team. I had people I had to answer to. So it just never sat right with me. I knew there was still, and this was like another mindset shift, there was still more out there for me that, hey, I need to figure out what I want to do even more. Like, I want to build a business. Like, that's what I felt like I truly could be. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I knew I was an entrepreneur. So when I was talking to Santos a lot, he was always like, dude, like, he was always in my ear, and I just didn't take his advice right in the beginning, but it was always stuck with me in the back of my head. And finally, beginning of 2023, I decided, let's make that shift, because I did see, as we talked more, like, he has more leverage in his day, because that's like the most important. You need to leverage your time, right? So he had more leverage where he could outsource things to people, and he was actually building a legitimate business. So 2023, January 2023, I decided to make the switch, which at the end of the day, it really wasn't a whole lot different. Yeah, there's like a other side of it. You need to determine ARV, the rehab cost, stuff like that, but you can use general basics, depending on square footage and stuff. But at the end of the day, it was just lead generation, lead follow-up. Mm-hmm. That's all it was. And then as a realtor, you're trying to get the listings. So lead generation, lead follow-up, listings, right? As a wholesaler, you're lead generation, lead follow-up, and then you're giving offers, trying to lock up deals, and then discoing it. Right. So it really wasn't like a whole lot different. It was like an additional couple skills you had to learn. So for January 2023, I wanted actually selling my first wholesale deal. Next month, I sold 2, then 3, and it just started going up. So I was like, wow, okay, this is actually not easy, but it's easier than I thought it was going to be making a switch or something like this. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, now this is where my mindset, this is where like becoming a business owner, I can really thrive. So it's like, now I need to 10x this. So how do I do that? Well, I needed to get additional lead generation sources. So I was cold calling myself. I was eventually going to hire cold callers, but I also wanted to do like driving for dollars. I didn't want to do it myself. I might have did it for like a weekend for myself, and I was like, dude, this shit isn't for me. So I made a Facebook post, or an Instagram post, I'm sorry, and I said, hey, does anybody want to make an additional, I think it was like $3,000 to $7,000 if you're an Uber driver, a cop, or a delivery driver, anybody want to make an extra $3,000 to $7,000, you know, just doing exactly what you're doing. And I had one guy slide up that I actually went to high school with. His name was Jeffy. And I always knew me and Jeffy, like there's pictures of us. I mean, you've seen the pictures, right? Like, there's pictures of us, like, back in the day when we were in high school. Like, we weren't, like, bestest of friends, but we were friends. He, like, wasn't in my whole friend group and stuff like that. But I always knew, I said, deep down, I said, me, him, and this other kid, Nick, I said, I knew we were all going to, like, still talk to each other after high school. Because, you know, like, I'm 25. How old are you? 24?
25.
Okay. Do you talk a lot of people that you were with in high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
To a certain extent.
Okay. So I think as you get older, like, you start to lose connection with a lot of those people.
Yeah.
But I always knew he was one of those people that I would probably stay in contact with every here and there. And basically, I called him up and we had a conversation. I always used to see him at the gym and stuff too. And I was like, hey, what are you doing now? And he was like, so I just quit my job at the restaurant. I think he was like one of the cooks or something like that. He's like, I didn't really like that. I quit. I'm just Ubering right now just to make ends meet. I'm trying to find what I really want to do. And I explained him the position. I was like, hey, listen, I just need you to drive around like you're doing Ubering, but at the same time, like, look out for distressed properties. Because if anybody that's listening or going to be watching doesn't know, like, driving for dollars, you're literally just looking for distressed properties. Skip tracing the number, ask them if they're going to consider an offer. Right? So that's all I told. That's what I said to him. I was like, this is all you're going to do. And he was like, I'm down. So I made a spreadsheet, and he started putting all these leads in. And dude, he was racking up leads after leads after leads. Like, there was a couple hundred within like 2 weeks. So I saw like his hustle, and I saw like his like kind of like you know when you have somebody that's like dedicated. So I said to him, I said, yeah, you're doing a great job. Like, do you want to do more? And he's like, yeah, bro, I'm committed. Like, this is something, like, I want to learn a skill. I was like, come over to my house. I'm going to teach you how to cold call, because I like to think I'm fairly good at cold calling. Like, that's how I sold majority of my houses my first year as a realtor, second year, and the 7 to 10 houses that I wholesaled within the 3-4 month span, right? So cold calling was my main source. So I wanted to teach him how to do that so he can start doing it on his own. And again, like, my whole thought process was just to help him, right? But also help, like, make some more money driving for dollars as well, till eventually he learns this skill and can go off and do it on his own. But after seeing his hustle and stuff, and after seeing like there was a hole missing in the way I do stuff, like, I hated dispo. Like, I despised it. Like, I just don't have the patience for it.
Why?
You got to deal with a lot of people that lowball you, which that just pisses me off. Like, right then and there. You got to deal with, like, you know, like, because, like, I'm really good at acquisitions. Like, I love sitting on the phones. Like, I love talking, like, closing deals. Like, that's what, like, I'm good at. Disto is like a whole nother skill. Like, I could do it, but I was like, you know what? If I can show somebody or teach somebody how to do this the correct way and put them in a role, like, that's a good start. So when I pitched this idea to him, he's like, bro, whatever you want to do, I'm following you to the end. And, like, that's all I needed to hear to say, all right, bet, let's do this. So around May, started the business, started REM Acquisition. And I slid him over to Dispo, and basically I paid for like a Tony Mont course, which is Eric Klein and Tony Mont, pretty big names in the wholesale industry. Paid for a Tony Mont course, taught strictly about Dispo, kind of get the general idea, and like off was the races. Like, from there, like, we just started growing rapidly. We did a couple $100,000 months, you know, $80,000 months, you know, all that stuff. And I would go to Fusion gyms. And I would play like basketball, I work out, do that stuff, and I went to the basketball court the one day, and I was about to, like, you know, hop into some runs, and I saw some kid, he had like a real estate shirt on with like a company that, like, somebody that I know, like, not know but know of through like other friends, and I said, hey, is that your real estate company? It was like 2020 Real Estate was the company, right? They're pretty local here in the Northeast, and he was like, oh, that's my cousin's. I was like, oh, that's shit. That's cool. I was wearing like my realtor shirt at the time, like it was like Caruso Real Estate, you know. And he was like, you're a realtor? I was like, yeah. I was like, I just switched to wholesale. And he's like, oh, like I'm interested in learning about that. Yada yada yada. His name was AM. So we wind up grabbing lunch at Cafe Carmela, and I just could tell he's only 17 years old, and I could just like tell like he was dedicated hustle. Like somebody like if I was 17 years old, like that's who I would want to be. Because I would have been a multi-millionaire 10 times over if I had his drive, hustle, and enthusiasm, everything, all the skills that he had at 17 years old. And I just basically told her about it. Told him like more about like, you know, what I'm doing wholesale. And he's like, yo, like I kind of want to learn. Can you show me? I was like, sure. And I was like, yo, come over to my house. And he wanted to do it himself. And I gave him every resource I knew. I told him how to use like certain tools like Mojo, you know, Podio, stuff along those nature. I told him everything he needed to know, let him hit the ground going. He started making calls. I started showing up every single day, real consistently. And, you know, he just wasn't having much success. And not to say that if he didn't keep going, he wouldn't have success, because he definitely would have, because it's all about consistency and dedication and discipline. And that's what he had.
Right.
So he would have, but I saw a bigger opportunity to come work with me and Jeff. At the time, I think we hired a couple cold callers as well. So I was like, dude, like come here, like you have a great personality, like you could be like terrific at acquisitions. Because the only thing that was messed up with him was his time. He's still in high school. So he got done high school. He got done school at like 1:30. You know, if you cold call for 2 hours, 3 hours to bring the leads in, and then like lead follow up, you know, once you start getting a good amount of leads in, and then giving the offers, then going out taking pictures of the property and trying to dispo, he doesn't have enough time in the day, you know? So I saw that, and I didn't want him to get discouraged, because you have a kid that like is 17, like I said, is somebody that if is driven, hardworking, and like consistent. I was like, yeah, listen, come join us, work with us. I guarantee you'll be making more money than you will be doing yourself, because we're going to the fucking moon with this, right? It took some convincing, and then it was only until like 3-4 months ago where he hopped on with us. Mm-hmm. And dude, from there, like we just continuously keep scaling it up. And like I said, like May's going to be the first full year, and we'll touch just under 7 figures.
Wow. That's incredible. So you were a young guy unsure of what to do in school. You were partying a lot, and you developed this hustle mentality through Ubering. Then you switched careers into real estate. You didn't want to do kinesiology. And eventually you learned from others to start your own business. How does your wholesale business currently operate? And what does your current structure look like?
Yeah, so we can talk about how many team members I have, because I think that was like the question you're pretty much asking me. So right now we have 4 cold callers that are out in the Philippines, and they only work 4-hour shifts. So technically, there's only 2 of them. Okay. If you want to put them together, like 4 hours or 4 hours to 8 hours. So there's only, and the reason I split it up like that is because from a person who cold calls and loves to cold call, and you know, still to this day cold calls, I just don't, like, you get burnt out very quickly. So I'd rather do in 4-hour shifts and work my way up there. So it's technically two full VAs, right? We have AM as acquisitions. I do the closing. Jeff does the dispo, and we have a girl named Tatiana who does the transaction coordination. Right.
And what systems do you use?
Dude, we keep it simple. Like that's my goal here, right? I try to keep everything simple so I can scale it up, because the more people we bring on, like if we bring on, you know, we get overwhelmed on the dispo side and we have to hire another dispo guy or acquisitions, teaching them a complex, difficult system is going to be more of a headache for me. Right? So we keep everything simple. We use Podio, which we have fully developed. We use Mojo for a dialer. Now I know there's people that talk out there that say, hey, like there's like what's the one I think you and Adam try to
or I reply or go high level.
One of them has like 12 dials at one time.
Right.
I don't think that's sufficient, you know, so I stick to Mojo that has 3. And then we just have a skip tracing. Skip tracing is probably the most important thing. The data is the most important thing. You know, I use a private investigator, and you know, she gives me 2 numbers, and one of the numbers is always right.
Okay. And how about the processes in the business? You use like Podio, right?
Podio, yeah.
Okay. And you also are a big fan of Eric Klein, you said?
I am a big fan of him, yes.
Okay.
So with the Podio, again, super simple. We have a seller lead app where I have it all integrated on the back end where the cold callers, once they get a lead, they click hot lead and it automatically sends to the seller lead app on Podio, right? So that's from Mojo to Podio. From there, AM will call, qualify it. We use the Eric Klein script, right? With our own tweaks. That's what we use because I feel like he's one of the bigger goats. And I was just on the phone with him on Sunday, talking about how we're going to scale. And like I said, we'll talk about that a little later as well. But we use his sales script, his follow-up process with our own little tweaks. And that's under the seller lead app. Once AM gives them an offer, he'll shoot it to the offer app. And that's where like I'll come in and like I'll consistently follow up with them and you know I'll close them. Okay. From there, I'll send that to the under contract tab, and that's where Jeffy will give the seller a call. We call it a welcome call, right? Where basically we explain who we are, who he's going to be, basically you know everything that's going to happen from pictures, lockbox to all that type of stuff. He'll then go and he will you know send somebody out to get pictures wherever, depending on where we are. Like we're looking to expand in other markets and stuff, so we do have people that are boots on the ground that take pictures, you know. So we'll get those pictures, we'll start, you know, doing our marketing to find a buyer, and that's more Jeffy.
What type of marketing does he do? Like what does his dispo process look like? Sure.
So we do Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups. That's one. We skip trace LLC buyers. We do call the cash comp agents. And then we also look at like what's sold. Like we look for flips, right? And stuff that flipped in the same area as us, we'll actually go to the public records and we'll kind of see what they bought it at. And if it's a number that's close to ours, makes sense with ours, we'll actually skip trace that number as well, call them up and see if they're looking for another one. Because there's a good chance if they just bought one in the same block or a block away, they're going to want to buy like another one, especially if they just profited very well.
So these are all super simple. Anybody can use them. They're really cost effective. Mojo, Podio. You're using social media to market the deals. You have such a small team. Yet you're accomplishing so much. So, I mean, what are some things that you look to accomplish this year?
Yeah. Before we get into that, I will say we do flat fee MLS as well. It's like $150 to put your deal on the MLS. It's kind of like a last resort because you know at that point the seller could potentially see it on there, and then it could be another issue. So we do flat fee it. That means you have to pay an agent commission and stuff like that. And then we did just get Investor Lift a couple of days ago. I think it was the Cartel or Gamo, one of those ones.
Okay.
So, I mean, you don't need that. You can use the Facebook groups and you can utilize the cash comps and LLC buyers if you know how to skip trace LLC buyers. Right. So, like, you don't need a whole big process. Like, you can do it relatively easy and cost effective. What was your question?
Yeah, just some things that you want to accomplish this year.
Okay.
2024.
So 2024, like I said, by the beginning of January 1st, 2025, we want to be at $2.5 million. Like I said, I was on the phone with Eric Klein on Sunday talking about how we're going to get there. You know, and at the end of the day, it's just sales and marketing. So it's just you need to continuously bring on more cold callers on the sales part and like the sales people. And then the marketing, you have a couple different marketing channels. You could do like direct mail or PPC or something along that nature. For us, and my goals for 2024, $2.5 million. I wanna add on another 6 to 8 cold callers, and I do want to start up PPC. So that's the goal, and then get our average spread up to $100,000 a month minimum.
Okay. And then like, what do you see for like a 5 years? What are some 5 year goals you have?
5 year we're looking.
Or just the future of REM.
Okay. Well, I'll start with 5 years. So 5 years is going to be $25 million a year. What was that? 2.1 or 2.2, something along those natures a month. So that's the goal for REM Acquisition. You know, 25 million in 5 years. Now, the long-term vision is REM's just the start, right? This is actually, or REM Acquisition is just the start. The bigger picture is REM Inc., which has multiple different streams. Because if you look at any big successful company, they have other streams of income than just the one, right? So REM Inc. is the holding company, and then like the bread and butter is going to be the acquisition company, which is the wholesaling. Then we're going to look into expand into like flipping, so REM flips, and that's going to be in a separate market than where we're marketing for wholesaling. So we're not like grabbing our own deals kind of like that. Like it's going to be separate marketing, separate expenses. We're going to be rolling out like REM media, just because brand deals and stuff is something that's big. You know, REM automation. Like there's a lot of different things like REM title, REM closing, like all this stuff. Like it's going to be all under the umbrella of REM Inc. But the goal is $1 billion business. And the only way we're going to get to $1 billion is if we think big enough and have these different plans in place to know is when we accomplish or when everything's on autopilot with REM acquisition, we can then pivot and work on, hey, let's open REM title. You know?
Right, understood. So, kind of stepping away from your business process, can you talk more about a deal that you've done that was either a really great deal, a really bad deal, something that stands out to you that maybe people in the audience could learn from?
I mean, every deal, like no deal is easy, right? So I can give you both scenarios. The good one is we sold a duplex in West Philly and made $55,000. An older lady, you know, that was a smooth process. It was probably our largest spread today, you know, which isn't like a huge accomplishment because I see people out here doing $100,000-$200,000 spread.
Right.
You know, so we're gonna eventually get into those markets.
How'd you come across the deal?
Cold call. All my lead generation is cold calling right now, and that's the goal to scale up and get, you know, more cold callers on right now. Then from there we will pivot into other channels. But the bread and butter is cold calling. You know, like I said, I still do it myself. I like to do it. That's why.
Right. So you've just done the cold calling, you get the acquired deal, and you don't dispo. Jeff does the disposition. So,
so
it's kind of just easy for you at this point. Not easy, but most wholesalers are doing the acquisitions, the dispo. So, I mean, as if you came across a duplex while you're cold calling, you pass it on to Jeff and he just takes care of it, right?
Yeah, now, because I treat it like most wholesalers, the reason they're either not successful or don't have consistent deal flow is because they don't treat this like a business, right? They might get a big spread of $25,000-$30,000, and then from that point they might take a vacation or they might take off from cold calling. You need to consistently be lead genning 6 days a week for at least a minimum of 3 hours. That's 18 hours a week just cold calling, right? You need to treat it like it's a job, one, and then once you start getting an income in, pivot your mindset to being like an employee, a self-employed worker, to a business owner. You know, and then that's when you can start to bring on people. Now, you asked me about, you know, a couple experiences. I told you the good. There's a couple bad. You know, for one, we had one deal where we locked up and we went through like the title process, and we found out like the guy wasn't even actually the owner. You know, and we had this amazing spread. We locked it up for like $25,000 and we sold it for like $85,000. And we found out the guy wasn't the guy. And I knew something was fishy all along. He wouldn't give up his like ID or social security number and stuff like that to the title company. So there was a lot of red flags, but I was letting the process play out. You know, and no deal is like ever easy. You know, you might get lucky with a couple smooth deals, but I had one that we just closed on like a day or two ago where there was, you know, an offer memorandum on there. So I had to go find the person that had the offer memorandum. Right. If you don't know what an offer memorandum is the seller was under contract at one time with another buyer, and for some reason the seller might have backed out, so that person, you know, filed an offer memorandum and basically blocked any future sales, and pretty much she would have to sell it to him at that price that they were originally under contract for. So that offer memorandum was in place. I saw the guy's name on there. I skid traced him. I called him up. I had a great conversation with him. And, you know, from that point on, like, we worked out a deal where, you know, my spread was a $30,000 spread. I had to give him $3,500. Okay. To basically unblock the sale.
Right. So even though there was an issue, you did what you needed to do to get the deal done.
Yeah, because the thing is this industry is just being a problem solver. That's like one of the main skills, and that goes for any sales job, right? You just need to be a problem solver and figure out how you can solve these sellers' problems, and at times like these buyers' problems, right? That's probably the number one skill you need. Okay,
understood. Yeah, so it seems you keep everything pretty simple in operation. You're just rinsing, repeating, solving problems. Simple team, simple processes. and you've got massive goals for the future. So stepping away from the business process yet again, let's talk more about personally how you've developed these skills that you use on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. I learned them through trial and error, one, and putting in a consistent action. So when we talk about cold calling, I remember my first cold call. Dude, I fucking sucked. you know, like that's the truth. I sucked.
Right.
You know, and now I fast forward now after thousands and thousands of calls and conversations, I can almost predict how the conversation's going and who's a lead and who's not a lead. You know, so it's repetition. People think they want to achieve like these great big results without putting any work in. That's never going to happen. And the second thing is I call it my fourth quarter. So if you look at like any, like I'm a basketball fan. So if you look at like any person that like closes out the game and you know, takes the final shot like a Michael Jordan, you know, and even Damian Lillard's been like nice, you know, closing out games as well. Mm-hmm. They practice. So I call my nighttime when most people get home, go to bed early, or you know, watch Netflix or hang out. I call that my fourth quarter, where I spend a half hour to an hour like learning, getting better, you know, and that's how I spend my night. So it's all about one, repetition, and two, continuously building on your skills and getting better and becoming like the best version of yourself, and just becoming the best like salesman at the end of the day as well.
Understood. So just real quick, everybody, I want to say if you haven't already, make sure to go to the REI Rev YouTube channel. Check out us on Instagram, invite somebody. There's massive value here. We're going to be hosting these podcasts weekly, bi-weekly from now on. Also check out Dan Fazio's Apex Blueprint. We're going to be putting a link in the chat on the side. So if you need a type of CRM, you can go over there and get that CRM for only $100. And also, Titan Skip is doing a 20% off for the next 24 hours. So you get 250 free skip traces, and you can also get an additional 20% off. So make sure to check that out in the side chat.
How many people we got in here?
About 40 people.
Nice.
So let's go on to some role models that you have, and you know, we'll also get into some books that you like and some other more skill development. You know.
Okay. I'll start out with the real estate mentors I have. So there's only two that I can think of. One was Brent Daniels. He's the one who, when I was wholesaling, obviously I look up to like my friend Santos as a mentor. He taught me the ropes of wholesaling, but the general foundation I got was from Brent Daniels. He taught me a lot of the basics. He taught most people that are basic, you know, how to wholesale in this industry. Mm-hmm. The next person is Eric Klein. So Brent Daniels was more of like a newer type investor, like just getting their feet wet. Eric Klein is actually scaling a legitimate business. So those are the two guys in the real estate sector that I generally consider mentors just from afar. Getting into just mentors as a whole, I got three that I always like to say. I got Andy Frisella. He built the foundation of, like his first 300 episodes of the MFCEO podcast are talk about business foundation, how to run a great business. So I learned a lot about structure and how to become a great salesman and a great business owner from that. Next we have is Grant Cardone. So he's a little bit more controversial, and actually the next person I'm about to say is controversial as well. But Grant Cardone is a little more controversial because of like lawsuits and stuff he's in. But what I got from him is like the hustle mentality. So like every single day, like not letting a minute go by in your day of like being lazy or slacking off. I also thought to like think big. Like most people stop at like $100 million company. Mm-hmm. Like I'm thinking big, like 10x, like a $1 billion company, right? And then last but not least, which is probably one of the most controversial ones, is Andrew Tate. He's like a newer guy on the scene, but he provides massive amounts of value. I'm at his Hustlers University. This year I'm planning to join his war room. I learned a lot hustle from him as well, how to work. And then most importantly, like I got more like the brotherhood and the family orientation off of him. And like those are the three guys that I like for me is I find provided the most value in my life.
Okay. And So you were talking. I mean, I've seen the library in your house. You've got like 100 different books dedicated to just business and real estate. What are some of your favorites?
Starters, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's the basics. We'll teach you the basics about finances and how to the cash flow quadrant and stuff like that. That's a book that most people start off with, and I genuinely enjoy that in the beginning and would highly recommend anybody that hasn't read that book look into that one. The next one is Great CEOs are Lazy. The main takeaway I took away from this one, which is a phenomenal book, there's so much more value in the book, but the main takeaway I took about that one was the 5 hats of running a business. So let me see if I can remember them all. So you got the player hat where you're still in the game, you need to fill in where you need to fill in. So if a cold caller calls out, sick or the internet's off, you need to fill in that spot to keep your business running afloat. You need the learner hat, so you need to continuously be learning, building your business, getting your business to finding people out there that are doing it more than you, and becoming a better version of yourself for the business to grow. We got the engineer hat, which is the people that is building out the structures, the systems, and stuff like that. And then you got the architect hat, is the basic foundation of how you pay out. The engineer hat is more of the technology in the background, the systems and processes. The architect is more of the structure of the business as a whole.
Okay.
And we're missing one. Can't really remember it off the top of my head.
The learner or coach.
The coach hat. Thank you. The coach hat is probably, I think, the most important one, because this is the one where you need to be able to teach people to do it just the way you want it, so you're not getting frustrated through your day. I'd like to say if people can do it 70% as good as me, I'm happy. And in some scenarios, if there's a position like Dispo, right, I want them to do it 100% better than me, because I sucked at Dispo.
Right. Understood. Can you talk a little bit more about how relationships play a role in your business? You seem to be a really family-oriented type of person, not just with how you conduct your business, but with how you treat others as well.
Yeah. It's loyalty and trust. It comes down to those two things. I don't want people around me that I can't leave money in a room with, or I can't trust to stay if they're coming to my house, stay at my house without worrying about them stealing something. It's loyalty and trust. I'm not looking to have 100, 300, 400 employees and me not know their names. I want to be able to grow with every single person that I'm with, all make money together. The people that I'm with right now, we all got put on a crypto play that's going to be happening with the bull run. I want to see everybody make money around me. And that's because I don't want to be lonely at the top. I want it to be the us at the top of the mountain.
Right. No, 100%. So, how do you choose which markets to target?
That's a good question. So I'm still working on that. I use something like niche.com to really kind of get a feel for, if it's a rental market or what kind of market it is. But I look for markets that are under $200,000 of ARV. I personally have the most success in those markets. I don't like the $300,000-$400,000 markets. I feel maybe the spreads aren't going to be as big, but I'm more of a volume in that aspect, and I can negotiate better with those guys, and they trust you a little more, because you can talk about it. So under 200,000, I do use niche.com, and I just kind of look for what's out there, what's the hot trends, maybe near if you're near a waterfront. The waterfront markets, we had a lot of success in Chester, so that's just what it is. There's the markets I choose.
And they're doing development there, right, in the future, so based on future development, this may be a better market to target right now, right?
Correct. So if I'm going into a market, I'll look at their master plan. So most places have a 2035 master plan, what they're planning to do. So I think if you can look at somewhere into Michigan, their waterfront, they probably have a master plan there as well. Chester had a real big one where they have the soccer stadium, and values are going up. Investors are trying to get in a lot of the bigger ones from New York. So you're looking for these markets, these hot markets. I know Ohio is a big market. Dayton, Alabama. Like these are markets that I'm exploring and trying to find the right areas because not every area is hot. You need to find the areas that are hot and what like specific zip codes.
Right. So you've targeted specific areas you know very well, and after hitting them over and over again, you're now going from market to market to market, looking to expand larger. Right. But
Correct.
it starts in one market, get to know that market, and eventually you'll be able to tackle others that are similar.
Yeah, start in your backyard
Mm-hmm.
and then just take it from there.
Okay. And I mean, this is more of like a personal question, but how do you adapt and overcome obstacles on a day-to-day basis?
That's a good question. It's more about just being a problem solver. Getting good at that skill. Like it goes back to that. With every problem, there's a solution. You got to become so good at becoming a problem solver
Right.
that you know how to solve that problem. With that offer memorandum, I didn't necessarily in the beginning know because that's the first experience I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't stop and quit because there was an offer memorandum on the property. Like that would have lost me a $26,500 spread.
Right.
Right. So I asked around. I talked to people. I talked to title companies. They gave me advice, and I did what I needed to do to get that done. So just solving problems and just overcoming obstacles on a day-to-day basis is really moving forward is what you need to do. Don't if something doesn't go your way, don't just stop and
Just give up.
Give up. Like continuously keep applying pressure, pushing forward, and don't let that momentum stop. And
But you know when something's a dead deal though, versus when you should be able to try to solve the issue, right?
yeah, I mean you can identify a dead deal from a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you need to get good enough at that skill to identify that. Because
Right.
you don't want to be wasting your time. I tell Aham as a salesperson, you don't want to be talking to a lead that's asking for $300,000 with no motivation when the ARV is $225.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, out of you personally, how many deals have you locked up that have had title issues or a problem arose? There's how many of them actually end up closing versus the contracts you lock up?
So I don't know the exact KPIs on that. However, I would say it's majority. If it comes to price, we don't lock up deals that I take that back. I would say about 80 to 85% of deals we lock up, we can sell. It's that 15 to 20% that we can't, and we're still working on that. It's when you go into new markets, you're experimenting.
Right.
But I'm not gonna lock up every which deal and not be able to sell. I don't want
Right.
that. I don't want that reputation.
Right. We actually, it was so funny because about a month ago we got this deal coming in. It was in Trenton, and the guy was talking to me over text message. He wouldn't answer the phone, and he was like, "Send me the contract. I'll sign right now." And I sent him the agreement. We agreed on the price. He signed it within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right?
Okay.
And then he said he wanted a $2,000 deposit.
Okay.
He wasn't really asking any other questions or anything. It was just, he seemed like a pre-qualified seller. And we can't get in touch with this guy since then. And he was asking more about the deposit, saying, when are you going to give me the deposit? When are you going to put the deposit in? So this deal was way too good to be true. He agreed on the number, didn't even negotiate, signed the contract in 5 minutes, and we haven't heard from him since. We don't even know if he's the actual owner, but
Right.
we think that he was just, pulling our leg. So there's always going to be deals like that.
There is always going to be deals like that. If you set expectations with sellers, it's going to go a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And also at the same time, it's deals that have title issues, those aren't your fault. You didn't know. You can try to qualify them as best they can. But I'm working on a deal right now in Southwest Philly where we got it sold no problem. We had 10 people at a showing and we got over asking price, right? But now I'm dealing with a judgment, a $90,000 judgment on the property against the seller.
Right.
And I'm not letting it stop me, right? Because we're basically about to close. I need to negotiate it down. Talking to the attorney, talking with the person that has the judgment out, seeing what we can do. But at the end of the day, a deal might be a dead deal. But I'm not going to give up until they say, yo, listen, this is $90,000. If I can't get them to $5,000, which I should probably be a lawyer if I do that, right? Get them from $90,000 to $5,000. But if I do get it down, then great, we close the deal. But if it's a dead deal, there's going to be a point in time where I know to just call it quits and walk away.
Right. Okay. So, in order to deal with these problems that you solve on a day-to-day basis, it's important to have motivation, a clear mind, to have that flow state.
Yeah.
What are some things that you do personally that keep you in that state? How do you take care of yourself and discipline yourself on a weekly basis?
So I'm a big believer in morning routine. So I have a morning routine I do. I try to do it every single day. I wake up, I'll drink a cup of water. I'll go downstairs. I have red light therapy. I'll sit in front of that. I'll write my affirmations down, journal, do all that stuff, continue to get my goals in front of me. Step outside as long as it's not cold or pouring out, and I'll put my feet in the grass and get connected with the ground. Not that I'm trying to sound like a hippie or anything like that, but just like the energy you feel when you sit, like have your feet in the grass to start your day and get attracted to it and let the sun hit you. You just feel really good throughout your day. I'll stretch, do some cardio, and then I'll get my cold plunge. And I'll sit in that for 3 to 5 minutes. From there, I just get ready to work. And like my day, like I did the hardest thing. Like the cold plunge is the hardest thing first. Like I get done that, I can accomplish anything or anything that gets thrown at me. I mean, you've been in a cold plunge. You know, it sucks.
It's great.
It's great, but it sucks, right? But you do the hardest thing first. The rest of your day is easy. Right. So I do that. I always try to get 2 workouts in a day, 45 minutes. Lately, I've been breaking them up into the first workout 15, 15, 15. Just more so just cardio. Right. But try to get 2 workouts in a day. One's always cardio, and then one I'm either weight training or I am training MMA. Okay. Next is I've been really big on doing push-ups every single day to keep my heart rate up, and doing like shoulder presses with like 7-pound dumbbells. That's what I do throughout the day. I'll probably do like 500 to 1,000. It's pretty easy when it's like lighter weights. And just a lot of caffeine in me, like 2 to 3 cups of coffee, and then I'll fast till about like 5 o'clock. I mean, today is a day like I still didn't even eat yet, and it's 7:30. Right. I'm still fasting. Right. I'm just trying to get the carbs out of me, just get my mind locked in, focused, and that's kind of what I found to be successful. Right. And yeah, like that's how I stay focused. I keep the energy level high. I'm working physically on myself. And it helps me mentally as well. Mm-hmm.
Right, because I mean, with all these problems you have to solve, the ability to have a clear mind, write down your daily goals, and also keep your body healthy, that really helps you connect into your business, right? Yeah.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but the number one most important thing that I do is I have what's called a power list. This is another thing from Andy Frisella that I learned. And it's the 5 most important critical tasks that are going to move me forward to get to my long-term goal, right? So I identify my 10-year goal, I identify my 5-year goal, I identify my 1-year goal, and then now I need to reverse engineer back that into like a day-to-day basis, like a 90-day action plan in a 6-month, but I need to back those into day-to-day to make sure that I'm aligned with that, right? So my goals, like if I want to get to, let's just say, like if I want to get to a certain weight, like 190 pounds, right? And I'm going to say 200, which this is true, right? I'm trying to get to 190 pounds. What do I need to do? Well, I need to make sure I eat within my calories, under my calories. I need to make sure I'm working out, and I need to make sure I'm staying consistent. So the only way I can stay consistent is if I put that on my day-to-day goal. Hey, I'm up to like 760 push-ups a day. 760 push-ups a day. Cardio once a day, and eat right. If I want to get a certain number of leads in a week, or a certain amount of sales volume or a number I want to hit, I need to put lead gen on there. I need to make sure lead follow-up's there. Mm-hmm. Or if I need to just accomplish something, like it's the 5 most important critical tasks. It's not a to-do list where there's 10, 15, 30 things you got to do and you're crossing off as you go along. It's the 5 most important. And if you identify the 5 most important, from there, like you're building momentum and gaining speed every single day and getting 1% better, and you're just, you're just becoming like you're becoming what you want to be.
Right. So I'm going to open up some questions for the audience in a second. However, if you were, just starting in this business, somebody who didn't have enough experience, or somebody who's still trying to figure out their systems, what would you give yourself advice if you were to go back in time?
I would stay consistent on my learning every single day, so at least spending 30 minutes to an hour a day. I would get Mojo, get a list for a couple $100, get Podio for $10, $15 a month. I would cold call for 3 hours a day, and once eventually I have enough leads, I would lead follow-up.
Okay.
and then I would get as many offers as I possibly can. I mean, there's no secret. You're just going to eventually do more and more and more because you're going to have more leads in the pipeline.
Right.
So it's just staying consistent. Put it on your power list. If you don't do it, do a pen and paper. I use a Google Sheet, and write out lead generation, lead follow up. Go to the gym because you want to stay healthy. Do that stuff and cross it off as long as you go through your day. And if you got if you achieved everything, put a W and keep track.
Right.
Make it a mental thing with yourself. Like keep track of I think mine I'm up to 1,400 days and I 80% wins.
Right.
Right. I can go back and look at every single day from when I started as a realtor to now and see what I've done every single day. And now I know why my life is where it is right now because I put the consistent action in over the past 3-4 years to get here. So that's all it is staying consistent, picking up the phone and start calling, following up with those leads, giving offers and lock up some deals and sell the deals.
Okay.
And if you don't know how to sell the deals, bring them to me.
Understood. All right, well, we're going to see if anybody in the audience has any questions for Carmen.
I'm well, man. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
What's going on?
Fantastic, man. I'm inspired by this podcast. Well, you are really killing it as a host. You're bringing on some really awesome speakers, man. Carmen, I want to ask you, about your experience. You said that you joined the real world with Tate, and you were thinking about joining the war room. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of being in proximity with other power players.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's just seeing when I joined the real world, I always like to network. I like to go to a cigar lounge or grab coffee or something on the weekends and try to find people local here. But in the real world, it's kind of cool to see people that are hustling and making. I've seen 14-year-old make $10,000-$12,000 a month. And just being around those people, talking to them virtually, and just seeing what they do. It's important. It just if you feel stuck. There's always you're always seeing that there's somebody out there that's doing more than you or doing better than you, and you kind of want to know why. So if you have a community where you can talk to people and gain knowledge and insight, it goes a long way. It's going to progress it. Mentors are one of the most important things, and even just a community around you to ask questions. That's kind of what I did. I had people around me that I wasn't afraid to, call up and ask questions. I had Santos. I had another wholesaler by Adam Gardner. People I would just call up and ask questions to. And they were able to help me progress rapidly.
I love it.
All right, see if anybody else has any questions.
It's awesome, man. I'm definitely inspired by your story, and it's really cool to see somebody that started off as an agent, kind of flip the switch and understand the role that the agent plays in the industry, and then making the decision that wasn't the path you were going to go down.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, we're just getting started. We do. We had a couple $100,000 months, some $80,000 months, 70. But when you average it all out, I think throughout, I like to say just conservatively 50,000, and that's just the start, dude. I don't even feel accomplished like that. So we have big goals, and I think everybody should set big goals to achieve what they want to achieve.
100%, man. Can't wait to hear about you hitting 100K.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, if nobody else has any questions, and thank you, John, for that awesome question. I think we're going to close it out here. Carmen's got some business to attend to. Just want to thank you for coming on the podcast. It's always a pleasure.
Of course.
If you ever want to come back on, you feel free to welcome. If you want to bring a guest on, yourself. So
I think now we need to get Jeff on. He can explain, his side of the story,
Okay.
and he can also, explain the life as being the king of dispo.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, 100%. If you're not already following Carmen Caruso, make sure to check him out on social media. We will put his plug in the general chat once this is over. Make sure to check out the Apex Blueprint with Dan Fazio. And like I said, we also have Titan Skip 20% off for the next 24 hours. And you can also get 250 free skip traces when you sign up today. So go to titanskip.com and make an account. But without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the podcast.
Oh wait, I just gotta say something real quick. You guys need to be taking advantage of this. You guys ask questions all the time in the chat, in people's DMs. You guys have a young, successful man right here who is most of your all's age range.
This is the time to ask your serious question. Anything. Do not be afraid to not ask questions. He is giving you his time. He wants to answer your questions. This is crazy if you guys do not take advantage of this time. It's crazy.
I'll answer any questions
Sorry.
you have from my experience right now. If you feel more comfortable sending me a DM as well, I can help you the best I can as well there too. But we'd love to answer any questions.
How's it going on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
We're doing great. Thanks.
Good.
So my question is, say I have a budget of $500 to $1,000. Could you give me a blueprint on how I can go about starting this business using that budget?
Yeah. Well, I guess for right now, what's your day to day look like? What do you do on a consistent basis?
I'm basically free.
Okay.
I have a lot of time, and I've really been just calling,
Okay.
making phone calls, giving up.
Cool. So what I would do is I would grab Mojo, cost $150, and how much does Titan Skip cost?
It's 2 to 3 cents per lead, and you can get 250 for free.
So I would hit up Titan Skip, I would grab a list, and I would start calling. I would call 4 or 5 hours a day to get started. You can obviously take breaks. When I was seriously cold calling, like I said, 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours a day, I would go 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off, maybe a lunch break in between, something like that. I would do that consistently until I have enough lead flow coming in and leads in the pipeline. You can also get Podio once you get these leads in. Cost, like I said, $15, and just follow up with them every single day. Like, be relentless. One thing I do is I call every lead that is in my lead follow up 3 times in a row. You may be scared at first to do that, but you may think you're annoying them or they're gonna call you out, curse you out, and some might. But that's just a part of the game. Like, it's getting in front of them. So I would look at it like this. It's like step 1 is lead gen, step 2 is lead follow up, step 3 is giving the offer. And from there, like you there's no reason why in the next 90 days you shouldn't be able to get 1 to 2 contracts easily sold.
Okay, we got another.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you want to DM me as well, we can jump on a call. I'll help you out a little bit more.
I definitely will. I'm gonna add you right now. Thank you guys both.
No problem.
Thank you, King.
Just wanted to hop on here real quick. It was good, everybody. My boy Carmen was good, bro. It was nice hanging out with you, bro. When we came over to the spot, we let y'all know, this guy was them in their business there, literally doing it all, just straight on the phone, grinding out. And the best part is all you gotta do is gather a team that you're cool with, and you just bang it out on the phone. It's not gonna even be boring when you're around with people who are trying to do, the things that you want to do when you guys have a going place. And when I was there, it was fun. We were productive and we were getting stuff done, and it was just good stuff, man. I just want to thank you for coming on. We gotta hang soon, man, and take care.
Appreciate it.
I think this is Iman K said, how do you structure your team again?
So I structured the way I currently have my team structured, and this is doing $50,000 a month. It might change at $100,000 a month. I structure it as I have my cold callers, then I have my acquisition guys that are following up with it, all the leads and stuff. I'm closing the deal personally because I'm pretty solid at closing, and then I have a dispo person, Jeff, who dispos the deals, and then we have a transaction coordinator, which if you don't like doing paperwork and you need somebody to do your deals, she does it for $250, and she's very good at her job. So keep that in mind. You can hit me up and I can have her, because paperwork sucks, right? But it's very simple. It's the cold callers, an acquisition person. An acquisition person can be a closer as well. So you can really count it as one person. So cold callers, acquisition, dispo, and then transaction coordinator.
Alrighty, I don't think we have any other questions. And just for those who don't know, Carmen's 25. But that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks again, Carmen, for coming on. We really do appreciate you, man. And we'll have Jeff on next time. But yeah, he's killing it right now in the game. Make sure to follow him on social media. And without further ado, thank you, everybody, and have a good rest of your night.
Take care.